Like many towns in West Virginia's southern coal fields, the community of Flat Top has earned a reputation as an area that produces its own air conditioning. Even during the dog days of summer, it is a rare event when the temperature surpasses the 90-degree mark. However, the afternoon of May 16, 1974, seemed determined to buck the trend as the mercury slowly climbed into the upper 80s. Flat Top resident Evelyn Shrewsbury felt it was a perfect day to welcome the coming of the summertime by donning her sunbathing attire and mowing the lawn. Sadly, this simple decision to enjoy the summer sneak preview may also have sealed her fate. The tragic events which soon unfolded would shake this small community to its core, and 46 years later, many questions remain unanswered. Evelyn Shrewsbury lived along U.S. Route 19, just south of Ghent, West Virginia, in the Flat Top Mountain section of Mercer County. Along with her 2 children and husband, Gilbert, Evelyn, known locally as an attractive, friendly, but not flirty person, seemed to be living a happy and uncomplicated existence. Thursday, May 16, 1974, dawned clear and warm. For 26-year-old Evelyn, the unexpectedly summer-like day was more than welcome. The natural rural beauty of the surrounding mountains and fields made times such as these seem almost intoxicating. Evelyn enjoyed the outdoors and would often take advantage of such balmy days by spending time with her beloved horses or sunbathing. Memorial Day weekend had yet to arrive, so Evelyn's 2 children, Tina, 8, and David, 6, would spend the first half of the day in school. With her husband at work, Evelyn had the home and land to herself. Sometime after noon, Evelyn apparently decided to take advantage of the weather and mow the lawn around the family's 1-story frame home. Hoping to take full advantage of the ample sunshine, Evelyn donned a bikini-type swimsuit before beginning this task. More than one of Evelyn's neighbors reported observing her mowing the lawn during the 2 o'clock hour that day. Around 3:30 p.m., Evelyn's daughter Tina returned home from school. Oddly, she observed that the family's lawnmower was stopped and unattended in the backyard amidst a section of uncut grass. Thinking her mother may have stopped for a rest, Tina made her way to a tool shed where the lawnmower was usually stored. It was here that Tina came upon a horrific sight. Lying on the floor of the shed was the lifeless body of her mother, Evelyn Shrewsbury. Tina tried frantically to rouse her mother. Failing at this, she quickly ran outside the house and attempted to call her aunt for help, only to be stymied by an active party line. Unable to get through on the jammed line, Tina grabbed the telephone directory and ran to the home of neighbor Gloria Stafford, a teacher's aide at Tina's elementary school. Stafford enlisted the aid of mechanic Gene Harvey, the owner of Harvey's Garage in nearby Ghent. Harvey made his way to the Shrewsbury's home. The party line was now cleared, and Harvey immediately called the police. West Virginia State Police investigator Don Meadows received the call. Meadows immediately contacted Mercer County prosecuting attorney David Knight. Together, the 2 men headed for the crime scene. The Shrewsbury home was soon swarming with law enforcement officials and medical personnel. Attempts to revive the 26-year-old mother of 2 were in vain, and Evelyn Shrewsbury was declared dead where she lay. The cause of death was brutally obvious: strangulation. Evelyn Shrewsbury was found lying on her back on the floor of a tool shed located along the southern side of the Shrewsbury's property. The upper portion of her two-piece bathing suit had been removed and was wrapped tightly around her neck. Authorities and the coroner noted that the knot used to fashion the makeshift garrote was one of the tightest they had ever seen. The lower portion of Shrewsbury's bathing suit had not been removed, but was found around her legs, between her knees and ankles, as if it had been forcibly shoved downward. Most troubling of all, it was found that a Tampax tampon had been removed from the victim. To authorities, this suggested a sickening possibility: rape. The crime scene was far from a quiet one, and provided authorities with a plethora of clues as to what had transpired. Leaving no stone unturned, authorities remained at the crime scene well into May 18th. West Virginia State Police investigator Don Meadows took the lead in the investigation, closely assisted by Mercer County Prosecuting Attorney David Knight. State Police District Sergeant Robert Mazingo had oversight of the investigation. Once the crime scene investigation was complete, Evelyn Shrewsbury's body was sent to the Princeton Community Hospital for an autopsy. Pathologist Dr. Hawley Wells confirmed the cause of death as strangulation, but also reported that there was no sign of a forcible rape. However, Dr. Wells also noted an abrasion on the back of Shrewsbury's head, bleeding from both of her eyes, a bruise on her chin, and other scrapes and superficial injuries. To authorities, these additional injuries strongly indicated that rape may have been the original intent of the killer. Using physical evidence along with statements from neighbors and friends, police began the slow, meticulous process of reconstructing the events leading to Evelyn Shrewsbury's death. Police think that Shrewsbury began mowing her lawn a short time after 2 p.m. Neighbors observed a white male leaving the home at about this time. Authorities later ascertained that this man was a family friend of the Shrewsburys. Husband Gilmer advised the authorities that the man's presence at the home that day was not suspect, and he was quickly ruled out as a potential suspect. Shrewsbury was observed mowing the lawn shortly after the family friend departed. Although the exact time frame cannot be established with 100% accuracy, neighbors reported seeing a light blue or turquoise-colored Chevrolet parked in front of the Shrewsbury home at some point between 2 and 3 p.m. The car was described as being a model year 1959 with a flat fin tail. Within hours of the murder, an all-points bulletin for the suspected vehicle was issued. Although the vehicle was seen by several neighbors and passerbys, none were ever able to make a positive identification. An unidentified Caucasian male was seen exiting the vehicle and walking towards the Shrewsbury home. Unfortunately, the neighbor who observed the man walking towards the Shrewsbury's home was situated 400 to 500 feet away while plowing a field. He did not see the man or the blue car leave the residence. A short time later, Shrewsbury was observed conversing with a white male with dark hair on the northern side of her home. It is believed that this unidentified male was likely Shrewsbury's killer. Authorities speculate that the man somehow convinced Shrewsbury to escort him around the home and to the wooden tool shed. Evelyn Shrewsbury was described by her family and friends as someone more than willing to help or indulge, and police feel that her assailant somehow played upon her kindly nature, possibly by requesting a drink or expressing interest in a saddle for one of her horses. Police think that Shrewsbury's attacker struck her first in the chin, causing her to fall backwards and strike her head against a vise mounted to a bench. Shrewsbury's body then fell to the ground, her shoulder striking a metal gasoline can in the process. Shrewsbury then fought off the advances of her attacker, causing additional injuries to her face and back, and perhaps causing the lower portion of her bathing attire to slide from her waist to her knees. His attempt at a stealthy attack thwarted, the would-be rapist then cut or ripped away the upper portion of Shrewsbury's bathing suit and wound it tightly around her neck. The killer then proceeded to choke the very life out of his victim. Shrewsbury's body was not covered up or hidden in any way, suggesting that the killer apparently left the scene in haste, perhaps making little or no effort to cover up the evidence of his crime. State police were able to recover hairs and other fiber evidence at the scene and from other unnamed locations. Unfortunately, when interviewed about the murder in 2001 and 2018, former State Trooper Don Meadows stated that the hair and fiber evidence had gone missing during the intervening years. Meadows, in fact, stated that all physical evidence from the original investigation was gone or missing. State Police Sergeant Mike Spradlin, who was in charge of the investigation in 2001, declined to comment. Despite the witnesses, crime scene evidence, and a timely reporting of the murder, the investigation into Evelyn Shrewsbury's murder slowly ground to a crawl. Investigators pursued suspects and leads from Beckley to as far away as Tennessee, but were unable to muster enough evidence to justify an arrest. In 1975, State Police and Mercer County Prosecutor David Knight reported that they had a prime suspect in the Shrewsbury murder, but declined to name names. 26 years later, the prime suspect was publicly identified as former Hinton, West Virginia resident Antonio "Tony" Vines. Vines was known to have owned a 1959 blue Chevrolet similar to that reportedly seen at the Shrewsbury home on the day of the murder. Vines was also known to have been traveling north along U.S. Route 19 on the day Shrewsbury was murdered. Authorities later learned that Vines drove to his mother's home in Hinton that night, where he proceeded to cut his hair and spray paint the hood, trunk, and doors of his vehicle black. The following day, Vines drove to Ohio and did not turn up on the police radar until some Hinton residents later recalled having seen him painting his car the night of the murder. Vines was brought in for questioning, but released. Once identified, authorities found that Vines had been convicted of and served time for attempted rape in Pennsylvania many years previous. In this instance, Vines had coerced his way into a residence simply by knocking at the door and asking to use the phone. Once inside, Vines assaulted the female who had answered the door but was reportedly stricken with a bout of impotency. His plans to rape his victim foiled, Vines fled from the scene, but was later identified by his would-be victim and convicted. Former State Trooper Meadows confirmed that Vines was the prime suspect in Shrewsbury's murder from the early stages, but authorities have never been able to build a strong enough case to persuade a grand jury to return a true bill. Fearful of the double jeopardy consequences, Mercer County prosecuting attorney Bill Sadler declined to press for an indictment. Vines was never officially charged with Shrewsbury's murder. He died in 2006. Former State Trooper Don Meadows, who originally led the investigation into Shrewsbury's murder, was elected sheriff of Mercer County in 1989. In June of 2009, he was reappointed sheriff to complete the unfinished term of Danny Willis, who had recently resigned. Meadows himself retired in 2016. Former prosecutor David Knight went on to become a circuit judge in Mercer County. He retired in December 2000. Both Knight and Meadows still live in Princeton. Evelyn Shrewsbury was laid to rest in Mercer County's Gadd Cemetery on May 19, 1974. It is apparent that 44 years have failed to erase the memories of family and friends, as the gravestone is regularly adorned with flowers and personal mementos. Aside from Antonio Vines, no other suspects have ever been publicly named in connection with Shrewsbury's murder. In 2000, investigators who were working the case felt that they finally had enough evidence to bring charges against Vines. Former Sheriff Don Meadows, however, strongly disagreed, pointing out that the missing physical evidence, as well as the softness of the witness statements, made it virtually impossible to form a solid case. Today, like all homicides, the investigation into the murder of Evelyn Shrewsbury remains open. Authorities, as well as Shrewsbury's surviving family and friends, are urging anyone who may have information which could lead to the capture and conviction of her killer to come forward and help put an end to 46 years of frustration. Evelyn Shrewsbury was killed at her home along U.S. Route 19 in Flat Top, West Virginia, between 2 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. on May 16, 1974. She had been strangled with the upper portion of her two-piece bathing suit. Shrewsbury was observed mowing the lawn of her home by several of her neighbors during the 2 o'clock hour. Her body was later found inside the shed where the lawnmower was normally kept on the southern side of the residence. The lawnmower itself was found in an unmown section of lawn, indicating that Shrewsbury may have stopped mowing and either gone to the shed for a break or accompanying an unknown individual. Police theorize that Shrewsbury's death may have been the result of a foiled sexual assault. Witnesses observed a light blue or turquoise-colored Chevrolet model year 1959 parked in front of the Shrewsbury home. An unidentified Caucasian male was seen exiting this vehicle and walking towards the Shrewsbury's home. No witnesses reported seeing the unknown male or the unidentified vehicle depart the scene. If you have any information concerning the 1974 murder of Evelyn Shrewsbury, please contact the Princeton Detachment of the West Virginia State Police at 304-425-2101 or Crime Stoppers of West Virginia at 304-255-7867 or visit their website at www.crimestopperswv.com.